Listener discretion is advised. This podcast may include profanity and discussion of sensitive topics. Any opinions expressed are those of the speaker and do not reflect the opinions of any other person or entity. Welcome to episode number 6 of the Real Future podcast. My name is John Nyboer, and I'm the producer and host of these conversations. I'm also a Los Angeles-based photographer of street dance culture, and I started this podcast as a way for myself and my audience to hear the personal stories behind the world's largest arts movement. My guest today is Hans Pierre. I met Hans at one of the legendary battle games, introducing myself after I saw him perform a headspin in exuberant fashion. After I met him, it confirmed my instincts that his infectious energy is very much for real. Hans is not only a dancer, but an educator, the producer of Thesis Dance Festival, and in recent times has been the hardest working DJ in street dance. He's also a major sneaker enthusiast, but that subject is going to have to wait until next time. You're about to meet a really special type of person, so let's get into the real future with Hans Pierre. Right, so Hans Pierre, welcome to the real future. I really appreciate you being here. For those who don't know, we've got like the hardest working man in show business, street dance, in the culture, let's say. And actually, let's start there. Where have you been in the past 6 months? Can you give me just as best an itinerary as you can?
In the past 6 months, that's perfect.
Past 6 months.
Just briefly thinking about it, I was just in Chicago for a battle produced by Snipes, and that was fun. Before that, I was in Las Vegas twice, one to DJ an event called Skills Talk, and then the second time was to compete at an event called the Full Force Anniversary.
Nice.
I've also been, for the last, I want to say, this is my third year, but I've been working with a dance convention. And so I host that competition and do the emceeing and as well as like run the audio for that. And so I was just in Provo, which was really nice. I was in Utah for a little bit, and then at the top of the year, I produced a dance festival called Thesis. So I was in Tampa, Florida for a little bit.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure.
Perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Before that, I took a trip to New Orleans just to spend my birthday. That's January to now.
Nice. So New Orleans was not working. New Orleans, you were just...
No, then that's one of the first times in a very long time that I went somewhere that had nothing to do with dance, DJing, work related, and I think that was like the focus for me.
You have friends there?
No, that was my very first time. I really wanted to go and it aligned. My birthday is January 7th and my festival was the 9th to the 12th. So it aligned perfectly for me to be out on the road before that and then just go straight to Florida afterwards. And so
Did you do anything dance or music related while you were there?
No, I mean I bought records. So I guess that's technically music related. Like
Nice.
I have the thing where if wherever I go, I try and find like the local record store and try and take 1 or 6 back home with me.
What's the best record store in New Orleans, or your favorite? I know that's an amazing place to record.
Gosh, I don't remember the name of it, but I do have their business card. So as soon as I get back, I'll let you know. But I went to 3 of them, and I can't for the life of me remember it.
What was the best record you got, or the one best to you?
Oh man,
just one highlight.
Okay, so the highlight for me was actually not the best record I got wasn't at a record store. So I'm a huge fan of the rapper Curren. He used to be with Young Money, but now he's independent. He has his own record label called Jet Life, and he is from New Orleans. And so I planned, like, I didn't plan it out, but I was like, I'm going to New Orleans. I'm, buying records. It would be so cool for me. He has a store in New Orleans.
Really?
Yeah, like a store like on Canal Street, like in the heart of New Orleans. And I was like, I want to just, he's very connected to the city. I want to just go check out the store, it would be a fever dream if I ran into him, and he was at the store.
Nice.
And I he also had some of his vinyls for sale, and he has a mixtape album series called Pilot Talk, and he has like 4 installments, and so they were selling the Pilot Talk collection, of 4 vinyls, pins, and like this beautiful like flight case and stuff like that. So
fancy.
It was really nice, and I bought it, and he signed it for me at the store, and like double signed it, like he signed the front of it, opened it up, and then signed it again. And so like that's my prize possession.
Is he coming to Thesis? Did you invite him?
I could barely speak. I'm not really like so I'm not really like I've been blessed to like be around a lot of like high profile people and like do a lot of amazing things. And so I don't normally get starstruck, but in that moment I think I just couldn't really fathom the like, I don't want to say the ease, but just like it's like holy shit, like you're
right. I know that feeling.
Yeah, it just felt like unbelievable, and I just felt so underprepared that I could barely even put words together to express like how much his music has impacted me. I was just like, wow, like thank you. Like I stepped out of the store and I let out like the hugest like scream of like joy and happiness, and like
I love that you live so. Let's dial back. I mean, I remember I don't know if you remember the first time I met you was at one of the battle games.
Yeah.
These legendary
Absolutely.
battles from a lot.
Yeah.
And you entered some battle and you ended up spinning on your head, as you are wont to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I gotta meet this guy, because it's not like I'd never seen anybody spin on their head. There's just something about the joy and energy that you brought.
Yeah. And I'm 6'2", so it's an anomaly.
That's true. But honestly, it really wasn't that. It was just like this kind of joy that you had. And I introduced myself to you, and we become friends, and you've been here for shoots, and I see you out at events all the time, and we're both working with World of Dance now. Yeah. And actually, thank you for that, because you're the one who brought me into that.
Of course, man. Thank you for what you do for the culture, man.
You're welcome. It's a joy. Are you going to be at the World Dance stuff going down in April?
Yeah. I'm gonna be doing Los Angeles. That's April 12th.
I can't remember the dates, but
I believe I'm
cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's April 12th, and then the World Final as well.
Right. Cool. So we'll bump heads there.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I just want to get back to like where did you first get into this, as a DJ or a dancer? Let's start with that.
Are you talking about?
Well, I knew you as a dancer first.
I was definitely a dancer.
But nowadays you are, as far as your work goes, you are just DJing your ass off.
Yeah, DJ's definitely a breadwinner.
And I know there's probably people on the scene that think of you as a DJ, right? And an MC, primarily, right? So I guess, and I've been asking people, how did you get into dance? And with you, I'm not sure if I should ask how you get into dance. When did you know that this is just like going to take control of your life? Whether it was music or dance, or the combination.
Yeah, I was so without making this too long-winded, I have always been a product of the culture. I loved hip-hop culture. Music was my gateway into it. I felt like I found the arts, and I found like dance and all that stuff through the music. I feel like before I knew that dancing was a lifestyle, something that you could do, it was just social. Like all the popular songs of like hip hop around like my generation of like growing up, the 2000s, stuff like that. All of the songs had dances associated with them. So it wasn't like you were a dancer. It was just like, oh, this is just what is naturally associated to like hip hop music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like all of these things. And so that's kind of like, and then like socially growing up, you go to parties, you go to like things like, I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And so over there, I experienced a lot of like, like island music, dance hall music, where same thing, a lot of the music has dance like synonymous to it.
And your family is from the Caribbean, is that?
Yeah.
Like how far does it go back?
I'm first generation in the States.
Okay.
Yeah, my mother and father were born in Haiti, and me, my sister, my brother are the first generation to be born and raised in the United States. My sister actually was...
Shout out to your sister. I did get to meet her briefly once.
Yeah. Shout out to May.
Yes.
The coolest kid.
Did your parents bring that Caribbean culture into the house? Was that music present? Like, how did you start going out and going to that stuff?
I mean, like even in that, like Haitian culture is like really big on music and celebration, stuff like that. So I think just growing up, I just kind of was always around it. But then when it comes to like being first generation in the States, like the States were more impactful to me. Like the culture, the music, the experiences and stuff like that. And so that's how I found dance. That's how I found all that stuff. That's how I leaned into it. I took a dance class my 8th grade year, which is middle school.
Is this in school or at a studio?
In school,
in Boston.
In Boston, yeah. And I'll never forget this. I took a class. Shout out to Miss Williams, wherever she's at. She changed my life. But I took a dance class, and I don't even remember the specifics of the class. But what I do vividly remember is that we did a performance. And after the performance, on the stage in the auditorium, the dance class got to basically have a party or celebrate. And so that was around the time that You Got Served came out. That was around the time that a lot of like Dance 360 was a popular dance show. So the music from that movie, like the Drop by Fat Man Scoop or the Pump It Up by Joe Budden was playing at that party. And so it just kind of came together, and it was I remember that movie. I remember that. That's it was hip hop. And so that's I remember that party, and I remember dancing with my peers and doing all that stuff. And I was like, yo, dance is cool, right? It didn't dawn on me later on that would be something that I would invest in for my life until a couple years later, because I was athlete. My whole entire upbringing was athlete. All sports. I played basketball religiously. That was my pathway into it. So,
nice.
So I never really considered arts or dance a thing. It was just nice Lakers songs. Shout out to 77. Shout out to Luka Doncic. That's just how I found myself into the culture. It was dance first. It was culture first, and then dance from the culture, and then it just evolved.
When did you move to Florida?
I moved to Florida 2006, my freshman year of high school.
Your whole family moved?
No, it was just me. It was yet again, to make a long story short, like I said, I'm first generation. I'm so happy we're doing this, by the way, because this is just so cool. This is just so cool.
Before you go any further,
this
is so cool for me too, because one of the things about this is, as much time so far, everybody I've done this with, I've spent quite a bit of time with in rooms.
Yeah.
But those rooms are loud.
They're very loud.
And they're busy and they're active, and dancers are dancing, and I'm even though I have a great time, I'm working, right?
There's a function. I was just about to say there's a functionality.
So you and I have actually talked. I know something about your background, but this is great to get into this.
This is so cool. Both ways. And it on the flip side, I feel the exact same thing, and then also I feel generationally. Now I feel everything is surface. Everything is what you see is who that person versus getting to know somebody or understanding it. So this is just cool.
Anyway, you moved to Florida.
I moved to Florida. Like I said, I was first generation in the States, and so culturally, the things that I was experiencing and the things that I was going through was different than what my family. With my mother, because my father wasn't really in the picture. They were separated, and so what I was experiencing, teenage rebellion, growing up, wanting to go out, just normal American youth type of situations was kind of foreign to, this Haitian culture that, so I got into a lot of trouble. I got into...
Wait a minute. So you're saying that you had more of a Haitian cultural upbringing in Boston?
Yes.
And then...
But I was first generation, American.
Right.
So like I was experiencing like life as a teenage.
And did you go live with family in Florida or?
Yeah, my mom sent me off to live with my dad. She sent me to visit my dad, which was actually you're moving to live with your dad. And so I didn't really know it was that. So it was kind of like a I like to refer to it as like a Fresh Prince situation. You know, like I got like troublemaker, like, you know, issues at home. We're going to ship you off to a completely different part of the world, you know, different, you know, situation. Go live with, you know, Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, aka my dad, and like, you know, it was like go visit, and like I was like, okay, yeah, I'll see you guys later to my friends, and I was like, hey mom, when am I coming back? Hey mom, when am I coming back? Hey mom, when am I coming back? And then there, at some point, they were like, "Yo, you're not fucking coming back. Like, you live in Florida now." It was like I can't even remember what month.
How long did it take to settle in? Like that you weren't coming back?
I can't even remember exactly. I want to say it had to have been like maybe like a month or two.
Okay,
but like
that's not that long.
But yeah, but like school was coming up, and like, you know, like I said, like I thought it was a visit, so like I was ready for high school. I was ready to you know transition into that. I was ready to, you know, that was on my brain, and I was like, yo, school's kind of coming up. Like what's going on? And they're like, yo, you actually live there. Like you're not coming back to Massachusetts.
Now, it must seem a little bit funny retrospectively that someone would send somebody to Florida to shape it up. Just given the reputation that has for Americans, right? But
absolutely.
And you were in the Tampa area?
And I was in a city called Lehigh Acres, which is in Lee County, which is near Fort Myers. A lot of people know like the Fort Myers area, which is like the in between, like Southwest Florida. But Lehigh is like a town. So
is that where the college is, or is that a different Lehigh?
There's a different Lehigh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm familiar with the college, but like it's a town. So it was like this big. We had 2 Walmarts. You know, there was one road like Lee Boulevard. You know, and like a complete culture shock from coming from, you know,
busy. Yeah, coming from like city to
Massachusetts.
So it sounds super suburban.
Public transportation, and you know, I can get to wherever I'm going to, like Florida, the South. Country, like small city, and even like to this day, and I'm still like unraveling the man. I'm so happy we're doing this, but I'm like I'm unraveling the trauma that came along with having to uproot my life and go somewhere else. You know, I feel like that is carried on me, and like how I navigate through life now, because I feel like I'm very able to just be like, okay, start anew, or like just like, okay, transition, pivot. Okay, this is not this anymore. Okay, now I'm here. You know, I feel like having to do that at such a young age, and like what came from that.
But do you think it was a good move on your parents' part?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So you're all
yes. Now I do. I think I harbored a lot of resentment because, like I said, it was just pick up and leave. Friends, family, you know, sports.
So then you're in this new school. It sounds culture shock.
Yeah.
Then was there a dance community in Lehigh?
The high school I went to was an arts high school, and so they had a dance program.
Okay. So this plan, your parents had a good plan going on.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't give.
But I mean, like, there's not a lot of parents that will be like, we want to send the kid to an art school. Like a lot of times it's like military school.
Yeah. Right? Well, there was So there, like I said, we lived in Lehigh Acres.
Yeah.
And so it's a town, and so there's two schools, and there was really only one high school in the town at the time, and then they like built another one. There was Lehigh High School, and then there was East Lee that ended up forming later. And getting its own school, but like because we lived in Lehigh Acres, I had to go to Lehigh. So it was kind of like fate in a sense.
I see.
Like it was just fate, because I wasn't really like I want to dance. Dance was still just like, you know, recreational. I was sports. I was basketball. I was like really good at my age. I was like really, really good. And so I was playing with adults. I was playing in leagues. I had the high school I was going to set up already. I would have probably progressed into like varsity, maybe like my second year in high school or something like that. So like I had that pipeline. But I moved to Florida, and they were like, you're going to go to the local high school. And that school just so happened to have a dance program. And I was like, I don't, like, I took dance in 8th grade, and I didn't hate it, and I don't really want to fucking be here. So, like, I'll take this dance class as an elective. Cool. And after my freshman year, I was like, yeah, I can do this. Like, I don't mind... I don't mind learning about ballet, modern, and stuff like that, and like technical dance. And like I said, this was like this was an art school, so like they had like specific programs for that.
So at what point did you take? So you're getting educated in kind of lots of traditional forms.
Yeah.
At what point did you start going out to hip hop dance events and realizing? Because I've seen you dance, and I've noticed you do a lot of toe work.
Yeah.
And you do some stuff that clearly you got from this background. So when did you start going out and taking this to the streets, as it were?
Yeah. So like I said, this was a small town. There's
was like 5,000? Was like a 50? Like
gosh,
Oh, okay. No.
I want to. Yeah. Well,
we'll look at it and put up a little info panel.
Yeah. It'll be like it'll come up. But even at that time in 2006, because now it's a lot more progressive. Now it's like bigger, and the population is higher, and businesses and stuff like that. But like then, it was small. It was so small. Forgive me, I'm forgetting what the question was.
Oh, I'm wondering when you started to take what you're learning in school and like take it to the streets, like get into the culture that you eventually ended up working in.
So like I said, like there were like when I got there, I was taking like traditional classes, stuff like that.
Yes.
But there were still like-minded individuals around me that also loved hip hop. Loved hip hop music, loved street styles and stuff like that. So I would be doing these like traditional styles in school and stuff like that. But then like on the side, I would get up with like the other 4, 5, 6 kids who also liked hip hop dance, who was like practicing breaking. Like I think like I said, like the You Got Served was so monumental to me because they were dancing to hip hop music. So that like just the idea of that movie carried with me, eons. And then as I started, it was just, I think YouTube was starting to get big around that time, like 06, 07, like
Definitely.
that realm.
Yes.
So then, like, was looking stuff up. I didn't have internet access like that in Boston. With my mom, my dad was very tech savvy, and like, so like they had like internet for me to like.
Was there one dancer that really like you looked at as your kind of your idol? I mean, and I'm not talking about somebody super famous like Michael Jackson.
Yeah,
Is there somebody that you were like?
It's so funny that you say that. Like, not in Florida, but in Boston. Yet again, that 8th grade year was just so
interesting,
so pivotal for me. But shout out to Isaiah Beasley. Like, he was the grade above me. It might have even been it was either. Yeah, he was the grade. He was the grade above me. So all this might have actually been my 7th grade year. It was like 7th or 8th grade year that I did the dance and everything like that. But Isaiah was the first person that I had seen make dance cool in person. He was like doing Michael Jackson impersonations, and he was like, "I'm a guy, but I dance. I could still be masculine. I can still do that stuff." So I think that like seeing him in the flesh was like one of the biggest like, whoa, dance guy, I can do this without feeling weird. I feel like he was like the pivotal thing for me. In Florida, I think like that came later down the line, but Isaiah was like that guy, and it's so funny because I just did World of Dance Boston not too long ago, where I produced the battles for them, and Isaiah was there, and I was like, "Hey, like, I gotta let you know, man, you fucking changed my life, bro." Like,
when's the last time you'd seen him?
In the flesh? It had been a very long time. It had been a very long
That's
time,
incredible.
But yeah, like it was just so cool. Like I don't even want to say full circle because it means that like the circle is over, and I don't feel like it's over. I feel like it's like continuously going around. But like that was just a trippy moment because I'm like, dude, like I probably wouldn't be as deep into the arts or as confident with like my self-expression if it wasn't for you doing the things that you do. So that was just a trip, But I didn't really get into the real street dance culture until after high school.
Do you remember the first battle you entered?
Yeah.
Where was that?
Yeah,
what
my
was
first
it?
battle, the first battle I ever entered was called Jam in the Net. It was in Fort Myers. It was, I think like the year I graduated from high school, maybe a little bit after, because I didn't know that organized competition existed. I didn't know that like, and it's just, it's so cool because like, as I get older, I'm realizing like the presence of like fate and like how things are supposed to happen, because I moved to Florida where I'm like, dude, basketball is not really a big thing here. Like, like what am I gonna do with my life? But street dance in Florida is like massive. They have such.
But you didn't even realize it until you got out of high school.
I didn't even realize.
Did you go to college straight out of high school or what?
Yeah, I went to school. I went to school in Tampa. That's when I moved to Tampa. That's when I left because I was like, okay, small town. Like
And I'm not. I just want to keep this thread going.
Yeah, yeah.
And is that where you met the rest of the crew?
Yeah. Okay, so
you enter this battle.
So yeah, I go to this battle called Jam in the Net in Fort Myers.
Jam in the Net. That's so.
Jam in the Net.
That's so of
Jam
that
in the
time.
Net 2. Actually, it was Jam in the Net 2. It was a sequel. Shout out to Ray
That's
Lou.
when they make a movie about this time period. That's gonna be
Jam in the
there.
Net. Yeah, it was in a skating rink. It was in a skating rink in Fort Myers, and that was my first battle. I think it was before. Breaking is very huge in Florida. It's huge. And so there was a breaking battle, and I believe there was like a freestyle battle, something like that. I can't even remember the specifics, but I remember that was my first jam. That's where I was like, oh, there's organized battles. Oh, this is not just like you got served where it's like, we put the money in Mr. Rad's hat and we, and the crowd votes. It's like, no, there's like structure to this. There's like judges. There's like time. There's like rounds. There's multiple kinds of battles. There's one-on-one battles. There's crew battles. There's style-specific battles.
Yes.
There's, music associated to this. There's like this. It just kind of blew my mind. And moving from Lehigh Acres to Tampa is where I really got to see what like street dance is like as like bigger picture, because like I said, like Lehigh Acres is like this big, and Tampa was a city. Tampa was where I was like, oh, like street dance is alive. That's where I met. I went to my senior year of high school. I was like, yo, I don't fucking like school. I hate school. I don't want to go to school, but I feel like I have to get out of this city. Shout out to Bianca Russell, because she was also like, she was a dancer at my school, but she was a year ahead of me, and she moved to Tampa after high school, and she went to the same school that I ended up going to. She was like, you need to come to this school. You need to get out of Lehigh, and you need to come to Tampa. And I was like, I don't want to go to school, but if I'm gonna go to school for anything, it's gonna be for dance, because then it won't feel like school, and I'll still get to like experience and grow and like all this stuff. So I moved from Lehigh Acres to Tampa. And that's where I met Breland. I met Breland in college at that school, because we were both like in that dance program there. So like transitioning from Lehigh to
he was in that program too. What was the program?
It was a community college. It was Hillsborough Community College, and they had a dance major at the school. They had a dance program, and it's honestly one of the best dance programs in Tampa. And that's firing shots at all the universities. But like, shout out to Christina Acosta, because she really developed something really, really, really beautiful with that program. But that's where I met a lot of like my close friends artistically, through that program, and then also just like being in Tampa. Like Tampa was like, oh, this is like street dance. These are like battles. These are performances. These are like.
So I'm so glad you're talking about this because I feel like
I never
there's
get to talk about this stuff
something
anymore.
in the water, right? Because I cannot believe, like, since day one, it seems like, meaning since day one, I started photographing the culture and learning about it and meeting people. Like every other person's from freaking Florida. Right. In fact, my next guest that's coming in Monday is from Florida. Yeah. And
she's from Tampa Bay.
That's right. Chantel.
She's from.
See you soon.
Yeah. She's from Tampa Bay.
But seriously, like, what is going on in and then John Boogs, of course, is kind of like taking things to a next level in terms of like recognition and what he's doing with the art form.
He was pivotal. That's crazy. He was pivotal for South Florida. Yeah. He was like one of those, and South Florida is its own world, but like what he was doing over there was.
Do you have any? I mean, sometimes these things just happen, but do you have any sense of a why or causative effect? Like what makes it such a densely talented and it just seems like you guys all just come out and just want to smoke people, right? It's just like, and you do.
I think. I think there's a lot of things. I feel like for starters, the number one thing that I can say, and I definitely like want to swing this your way too. I feel like the number one way to really understand it is that you have to come to see it. Because I feel like a lot of people who come to Florida for different events or even my event, they're there and they go, "Oh, I get it." You know what I mean? Like when you're, oh yeah. That's the thing that I always hear from people who come to Thesis. They're like, "Oh, I get why you are the way that you are, and I get why your friends and family are the way that you are, and I get why all of these people who are from Florida are the way that they are, whether it be like energy, whether it be camaraderie, whether it be uniqueness and like talent, like the way that it is. Like I think there is definitely something special within the community, I think. And generationally, I think what's also something very, very, very big to highlight is that I'm trying to find the most humble way to say this without just being like, we did it. But like my generation was the generation to jump ship and leave Florida and to come to the West Coast.
Yeah, that ship was full. I mean,
yeah. I mean, there were some people who did so. Shout out to El Boogie because El Boogie.
Oh man, yeah.
El Boogie.
Gotta get her in here.
Yeah, and El Boogie. Like, I don't really consider a lot of like. I don't really feel like I had an OG. Like somebody who like put me on there.
Okay.
There were leaders in the community who I value and I appreciate, but I feel like OG is such like a tough word. But if I had to give it to anybody, I would give it to El Boogie because she was a representation of not only somebody who's pivotal in the community. That word is gonna beat my ass all interview. She was pivotal, just because of what she did. In the battle culture and the performance culture, she was one of the first crews that I ever seen, like the first like all-style crews. She was one of the first people to leave the city and make a name for herself outside of Florida, which was not really a big thing. A lot of the people in the generations before us stayed in Florida and cultivated the community. Like they stayed there, and so aside from El Boogie, not a lot of people that were impactful to me jumped out and left, and was coming back. So like my generation, I don't want to just put it all on my crew, but like when me and the guys jumped ship and we were like, we're going out to the West Coast, I don't want to say that influenced a lot of people from my community, but I think it showed the possibility of that.
How many of you came out here?
It's four of us.
It
was me, Sam, Breland, and X, and then my partner at the time also. We all moved to the West Coast together in.
And was it like you wanted to get into the industry? Was it just like we're going and figure, like, what was the vision, if there was one?
I think there were different visions for all of us.
Okay.
But I feel like speaking for myself, I felt like I had hit the ceiling in Florida, and I had done everything that I wanted to do. We had done all the performances, all the battles. We started to end up facing each other in all the battles, and it was the same people, same judges, same DJs.
Right.
The monotony was just getting tired. There wasn't a lot of money to be made unless it was like education, for dance studios, and that's kind of tiring. I also just loved traveling and loved experiencing different communities. I took a trip to LA twice, one with Breland and some other friends to just see it, and I fell in love with it. A second time for a 3-week camp that was produced by Movement Lifestyle, and you got to like live in a house with other international students, and you got to take unlimited class. I just fell in love with it. So for me, it was like I wanted to move so I could have more opportunity to grow as an artist, to make more money, to experience things that I wasn't experiencing, and to just just grow, to experience different parts of the United States.
What was your first gig that you got here that let you know it was working?
Gosh, man, I don't even know if I could say that it was working, but like I've just been so blessed to have experienced so many things.
You don't remember like the first big, like, yes, you got this dance, and I mean dance gig. Because I mean those are not. That's not an easy thing. Like lots of people come out here and never get one dance gig, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, just to speak candidly and just that not to dwell on it too much, I think the first thing that comes to mind is that, okay, so we moved March of 2015. So in about a month, it'll be 10 years since I've been here, which is a trip to think about. And I want to say August or September of 2015, me and the guys got hired to work for the Clippers.
I remember when you were doing that.
Yeah.
I actually saw you do that. I don't know if you know, but I go to Clipper game now and then. And,
really?
Well, especially back then because it was
dirt cheap.
Oh my God, it's so easy to get to. Now it's like
Yeah.
it's actually, you'd be surprised at how cheap tickets are for Clippers right now.
I want to see the new arena actually.
Yeah, I haven't been yet, but it's still like not too expensive unless they're playing the Lakers.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you out there.
That was a trip because it was like, not even just from like who we're working for, but just the opportunity. It was like, I see this ad. I want to say it was on Craigslist, maybe. Like
might have been.
It might have been on. It might have been on Craigslist or because I don't think I was using Indeed or LinkedIn back then. It was just like, hey, we're having auditions,
and that was pre-Ballmer, right? Or was it?
Yeah, that was
right. So it probably was Craigslist because I don't think Ballmer rolls like that, but
Sterling.
Well, I didn't really want to give him any attention.
It was around.
We don't need
that
to talk
time.
about that bullshit. But it is interesting.
But it was around
like,
that time.
If you're from Southern California and a basketball fan like I am.
Yeah.
That totally, I'm sure it was on Craigslist because that's totally how they rolled. Man.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we just found it, and I feel like the team had been discontinued for a little bit, so it was like 2015 was when they decided to bring it back, and I saw it, and I was like, hey guys, there's a fucking audition for the Clippers, like let's
go,
let's give this a go, let's I feel like that was one of the things where I was like, yo, I actually live in LA, and this is a trip because like what are the odds? Like, what are the just what
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, what are the odds of us being able to?
That's awesome.
I
can tell that felt good.
And we did it as a crew. We did it all together, and like we got the job all together, and
That's
like
so great.
like I said, I love basketball, so working for the NBA was like. I get to, be around these players and watch this stuff. Like, it was just, a dream come true. That was a job where I was like, okay, this is not a fantasy anymore. Like, I actually like,
That's
this
awesome.
this is worth it,
And then I want to get into like, so the four of you, and then I think some others, like, was Pontiac part of that original group, or?
Yeah, which is Sam. Yeah. Sam. I
know him as Pontiac.
Yeah. I refer to him as Sam. Yeah.
And so you guys did the Crew Love thing, and just for the audience, the Crew Love, they would do these weekend-long workshops that were ostensibly dance workshops, but I went to a couple of these, including one in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. Oh, well, it was our jam. Yeah, it was our battle. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just a battle though.
Like, yeah, well, I guess what I'm
trying to say is it was wrapped in street dance.
Yeah.
But when I got there and I spent some time, I realized really dance is kind of beside the point. Like it seemed to me you were pitching this philosophy of overcoming fear and of being authentic and of dance as a vehicle to sort of confidence and community and all this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm getting at is, was there a point where you realized that this wasn't about dance anymore, or you know what I mean? Like,
you're talking about the art form, or you're talking about the event?
I just mean, it seems like ever since I went to Crew Love and I witnessed what you guys were doing, and I was like, these guys could be doing this like for corporations, right? As like like team building and stuff like that, which maybe you'll do someday. It would be great. But it was so great to see it on that grassroots level where
use dance as like the vehicle to...
It was a vehicle, and you just kept talking about it. Don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about what the judges think. Don't, because you did have a battle at the end, but it was always about like, just go out there and be yourself and put yourself into it.
Yeah.
And do that. And that's the important thing, right? Versus being wrapped up in trying to make it or trying to win or trying to be cool or, this kind of thing. So how did you come to this realization? Because I don't mean to dismiss that, some people are competitive and they got drive and that's who they are. And that's great. But I mean, you seem to tap into the thing that like this community for most people really has something to offer that's bigger than that.
Yeah. I think there was, for starters, I think a lot of it comes from trial and error. I think that when you do it for a while and you have different experiences in different places and different, I think when you just do it for so long, you start to, how would I say it? Like you start to have different experiences and that kind of like, it'll stick to you. You know what I mean? And so I think that because of how many experiences we had within the battle circuit, we start to realize that it wasn't as like cut and dry as like you good dancer, you win battle, you successful. Like it was like, I think that we got the shit end of the stick for a lot of experiences.
We meaning who?
We meaning my crew.
Okay.
I think that we had a tough go at it. I personally feel like we had to work harder for the bare minimum of like support or like notoriety. I feel like we had to work really hard.
You mean in LA?
In totality.
Just in totality.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think that when you have that kind of like upbringing, you start to realize that like it's less about the battle, and it's more so about the experiences that you're having and that you're overcoming to get into it, and like finding peace of mind for yourself in the experience versus the outcome of the situation.
But do you remember how you got there? Because that can be a lifelong journey for people in whatever they do, like realizing that, it's the journey, or, was it something you read? Was it?
No, I can't say that it was something that it was like, I don't even know if it was intentional, to be honest.
You must have talked about it, because that program that you present was not accidental.
I think that honestly, like, and to be full 100% transparency.
That's what we want.
Yeah, like Crew Love was to make fucking rent. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like
like me and Sam was like, yo, we need to like come up with a different way to make rent. His idea was a rent party. He was like, let's have like a rent party. And I was like, yeah, okay. That's a cool idea. And then I was like, damn, rent party. But like, also like we could have I feel like people were more interested in competition. And then, he like, you know, he's musically sound and like, that's kind of like where that came. Yeah. And there's something, extremely vulnerable about his music and like what happens when, you know, when that comes into play.
But again, like you're focused on that. Like you could have been like, okay, rent party, you got bigger ideas than that, but you could have been like, let's get Red Bull in there. Yeah. Let's throw a battle. Let's get prize money. Yeah. Let's bring in the biggest, like that could have been the way you did it, but you did it in this thing that was like you wanted people to grow like spiritually, like to me seemed the focus. So, but see, even with that, I think there's more than just the rent going on there.
It definitely was, but I don't, and I feel like this is my take on it. I feel like it'll be really good for you to bring Sam in here and all the other guys to get their viewpoint of it. But from what I can recall, I think that we saw it, like we saw what happened at the first one, and we were like, this is not your average like situation. There's a vulnerability that's coming out. Yeah. There's an opportunity here, and then it was like, let's build on like that opportunity. And I credit a lot to Sam because he's so good at seeing these moments, speaking to these moments, and like pulling that out of you. And then also just the authenticity of like his music and what he envisions to his music, you know, because like for those of you who don't know, he plays like the backbone of our event is that in the top 4 in the finals, Sam will play music live on a sampler, on a 404 sampler, and so it just changes the dynamic completely. And so along with that comes, you know, the vulnerability, the you're not dancing to Pete Rock or like, you know, your regular songs, and so you really have no idea what's coming. And like, it's really in the moment. So you have to be like honest. And I feel like seeing that and being like, especially at the first one, it was like, yo, this is not your average thing. This is kind of different. And like reiterating that this is a space for that to exist. This is a space for that to kind of, you know, present itself. This is a space where, you know, you don't have to be the best one in the room. Like you don't have to, you know, even down to our prizes. Like I think like the most money we've ever given for it was maybe like $200-300. We didn't even put how much you're winning on the flyer. It was just like cash.
That says a lot right there.
It was like cash prize, you know,
and people showing up.
And people showed up, and it was like we had like shit like in that bag award where it was like we just picked somebody who didn't even win the event, but was just like, you know, was just really authentic, had a good time. Sometimes even like at random, but just somebody who was just really just present, you know, it was like in the moment. And we gave them like a big ass bag of chips, you know, like it was like less about
all that in a bag of chips.
Yeah. You know, I think like we saw the opportunity for this to be like, yeah, we could like, you know, make the cash prize like crazy. We could get sponsors. We could do all of this stuff. We could get trophies, but like we're doing this like grassroots bare bones, and people love it. Like people aren't coming for the.
I mean, it's just a nice vibe, right?
Yeah.
And you know, if you can do that, do you had you done Thesis? Which came first, Thesis or Crew Love?
Thesis.
So Thesis is the dance. You call it festival, right?
Yeah.
That you produce in Tampa, and this was your 10th year.
Yeah.
And Kevin, I got to get my ass out there. It's just like, it's going to happen.
And here's the funny thing about Thesis. Thesis was supposed to only be one time. It was only supposed to be a one-off event to celebrate us moving to California. It was like
a homecoming,
like the reverse, like a farewell.
Oh, you did it before you left?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I had Thesis in January and we moved in March.
Why Thesis then?
because it was a culmination of everything that I had been a part of in Florida. This is my thesis statement. This is like I'm
graduating. Okay.
And so like that's why I call it like that's why it's thesis, because it's like I was a part of the choreography scene and like the performance, and I was a part of the competition and battling, and I was a part of the education
traditional art school.
Yeah, I was a part of like learning and all that stuff. I'm gonna have this one event that culminates all of them.
And what are the components?
It's initially it was a 2-day event.
Okay.
And the first day was showcases, like a performance show. And then the second day was workshops, and then the second half of the day was battles.
Okay.
And so it's supposed to be a one-off. It's supposed to be a farewell. All right, thank you guys so much. You know what I'm saying? I love the city. This one big bonanza. I'll see you guys later. And then people were like, yo, so what's happening? What's happening next year? And I was like, next year? And they were like, yeah, you have to do this again.
I'm going to be on TV. What are you talking about?
I mean, in a sense, it was just like, because like I said, the culture that we had experienced beforehand was you either stay and you're just there, or on the off chance you leave and you're gone. But there was no like you come back contribution, and so that's where I was like, oh shit, this is an opportunity to contribute back to the community. This is my line back to Florida, and whatever I'm experiencing on the road in the world, I can bring this back to my community, So it's like as I'm growing, as I'm experiencing stuff, I bring it back, and that's kind of how it happened with the first one. The first one, we were on the road and we were meeting people, we were going places as a crew and as a collective, and I had met my friend Denzel in Philly, and we had a connection, and I was like, bro, come to like you've been to Florida a couple of times, but come to my event, have my people learn from you. I've experienced you. I want other people to experience you. And after that thesis, I was like, yo, I want to keep doing this, So I met other people, contacted other people. I met King Charles. I was like, King Charles, you got to come to Florida. And so it just became that. It was like, whoa, I never knew Chicago Forward existed. It would be cool if Florida got this. And it was just like every year would be like, okay, this year I experienced this person or this thing. And so
who was it this most recent one?
This most recent year, I went very nostalgic, and so I had it was supposed to be Slim, but that was the same weekend as the fires in LA. It was
I remember seeing online. I remember actually seeing you posted.
Yeah, and so Tony Ray judged in the place of Slim, and then it was Leia from Jukebox, and it was E Solo. Denzel, because Denzel was the very first thesis winner, and so it was like, I got to bring you back. You've been here since day one. And then it was Denzel, Leia, E Solo, Tony Ray. Who am I forgetting? Don't hate me. Who am I forgetting? No, I will do this. E Solo, Leia, Denzel, Tony Ray. They're going to punch me in the face. Who am I forgetting? Who are my teachers?
I couldn't tell you. You're going to make me look this up now.
You would think this is my event. They're going to as soon as I remember it, wait. Denzel, you would think I bought all of these flights or something like that. Denzel. I just said it, King Charles. That's why.
Okay.
King Charles.
Awesome.
I brought
good.
Charles back.
I was about to go online. I couldn't take it.
I brought Charles back because he was also pivotal.
And so now, what are the components now?
It's the same. It went from a 2-day, now it's 4 days long. And so the first day is a pre-party. And so this last year, these last few years, we have we go to a skating rink and we just all fucking skate.
Okay.
And that's become like the crowd favorite because it's not dance related. So people get to socialize. People get to just be regular people.
Okay. So day one skate.
And then the second day this year, we added a choreography workshop for the first time, which was really cool. And so I had Leia from Jukebox who was judging. I had Crystal and I had Marley Hightower teach a choreography workshop, which is cool. So we're
Crystal
definitely
Jackson?
Crystal Jackson, yeah, Crystal Jackson Singletary with hyphen.
Right. Respect.
And then after that is the showcases in a theater space. We have a show, maybe like a 13 to like 15 act show, and then the day after that is the first day of the battles, because the battles has grown so large that we have to split it up into multiple days. And so it's the prelims in the top 32 of the freestyle, and then it's the entire breaking battle, because we have freestyle and breaking, because breaking was not only at the very first thesis, but it's also just a monumental part of the Florida dance community. So there's no way there would be no, before there was freestyle all style, there was breaking.
Do you have a rough idea of how many participants overall over the 4 days?
Yeah. Over the 4 days.
Ballpark figure.
We'll call it like 500-600 maybe.
Okay.
Like within the battles, I think this year I think we got 200.
That's awesome.
230 or 40. Our peak has been 275.
Okay.
That's been our peak. But yeah, man, it's huge.
Not to get boring, but I think it's important for people to realize that this shit doesn't just happen.
Absolutely not.
Where do you get your funding?
I don't.
So you're just you book it and then gate receipts and
I don't.
you loan money.
So I have been blessed to get some monetary help. Me saying I don't was actually crazy, because the Pro Breaking Tour looked out with like Snipes Pro Breaking Tour freestyle session.
Okay.
They helped out this year with the breaking, and shout out to them because they came through like crazy. These last couple of years, I have had some help with Red Bull and stuff like that. They have like pitched and stuff like that. But then I would say like 80% of it is like the event. Like the event like funds itself, like kind of like, cool. On the back end. And it's, we're that's definitely another hill that not another hill. That's like the hill that I want to cross over for these next couple of like years, looking into funding, looking into grants, scholarships, and not scholarships, sponsorships and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, good. And shout out to everybody who has supported that, because
absolutely
we're gonna need more of that with dipshit in office right now,
straight up
slashing and burning. I mean, America's bad enough in this,
and for the arts, it's so tough, And I feel like people like look at these other countries and like Europe and stuff like that, and see like the type of things that they are able to produce and create, and they're like, well, how come the U.S. doesn't do that? And it's because we don't have a lot of funding for the arts. The arts isn't really, a big thing, and so it's hard to compare and contrast these things, But I love, like I said, I love Thesis because it's like the community. Like this is like our shit. So like so you bring that vibe to Thesis. Yeah. It's like, and hopefully, at some point we will be able to get some backing in a way that also allows us to maintain the integrity of the event. So it's not just,
I have full confidence you're going to
I mean, that's a point of emphasis for sure.
I just really appreciate, I know it's so easy to get wrapped up in life for everyone, right? And especially someone like yourself who's like traveling all the time and grinding, right, to make this work. Yeah. And like you just always bring that vibe into the room where it's like you make the room better.
Appreciate that.
I know some of that's probably just who you are, but I know some of that's work.
Yeah.
Right. And so the fact that you've done that work and that you try to get others to do that work too is just like invaluable. And it's like that kind of thing that makes me love this culture and makes me want to get these stories out there.
No, I appreciate that. And I will go ahead and say that like Thesis wouldn't be possible without the support and help and backing of my friends and family. I know that like I'm the face and like people always associate me to it, but like especially within these last couple of years, it's very apparent that I cannot do that shit on my own. Sometimes I try and it busts my ass. Sure. There's no way that I can take full credit for it, because the curation, the configuration, just the way that this shit comes together, it just wouldn't be the way that it is without my friends and family. You know, from the small details to the large details, and everybody who puts their hand in it is just as deserving of the credit as I am. It just so happens that, like, you know, people look at me and the way that I wear it on me, you know, but Thesis doesn't, I always, like, not always, but I'm starting to say that, like, Thesis doesn't even really belong to me. It belongs to, like, the Florida community. I'm just a person who, like, tries to facilitate it. And I think that going along with what you're saying, I think that a dream of mine is to hopefully have this be the thing that it inspires other people from my community or just in the United States to produce their own thesis, their own thing that becomes like Thesis, you know, that is like for the states, for their community, grassroots, you know, or like just communal, or just making something that helps the ecosystem of dance. Yeah, I think that's just as important because it's needed. You know, it's definitely needed. I think. Yeah, I would love to see the next Thesis. I'm not like, no, Thesis has to be the only thing, has to be top of the charts. I would love to see the next thing, and I'm definitely like up for helping anybody create their thing, you know. Advice, you know, you know, helping people, not like just doing the work for somebody, but like, you know, helping somebody like figure out, you know, the ins and outs, and, you know, trial by fire obviously is important, but yeah, man, like, it's been a while. It's been a long 10 years of managing my own personal career and interest in life, along with this beast that is Thesis Dance. You know, like it's been a long time.
Yeah, I feel like I know the past couple of years I've been like I want to go, and then I for various reasons can't make it, but I'm looking forward.
Every year, I will say that, like, every passing year is the biggest year. So the year that you come will be the biggest year. You know what I mean? So like, don't trip about it too much. Like I try and say that, like, Thesis is forever. Yeah. You know, at least in my mind it is. So like, don't trip about it, because the one that you come to will be the one.
Maybe I'll bring my drums.
Bring all of this. Bring everything. Bring the mics. Bring the flowers. Just like, you know, bring everything, man. Bring yourself, though. If nothing else, just bring yourself, dude.
Yeah, I very much want to.
Yeah, and I would even say for your first experience, the same thing that I say to everyone. Obviously, you know, shooters will shoot, and I know that you're gonna want to like capture like the moments and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But like, I would say, while I'm looking at you, like, I would love for you to go and experience it as like just somebody who's there. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I try to tell people, because your first Thesis is like you can't redo your first one. You can't redo it. You know what I mean? And so like, all right. I say that to like friends and family. Like, I have a lot of people who are like, what can I do? Like, I want to come to Thesis and I want to do something. And I'm always like, if you've never been before, just fucking come, and then we'll have the conversation later about how you can impact it and things you'll do. But like, to sit there and be like, whoa, this is nuts. And then be like, I have 3 more days of this. You know, like, it's like that. That feeling is like it's monumental. So I would definitely say, like, obviously, like, you're gonna bring the camera and you're gonna shoot, you're gonna go crazy, but like, find pockets of moments where you're just like,
I usually do.
Yeah,
I usually do.
That's good. Okay.
Plus, I'm a chatty motherfucker, so I was gonna talk to people.
Good, because there's a lot of chatting to be done. There's definitely a lot of like talking that you can do and experiencing.
You got any questions for me?
Yeah,
I'd like to open that up, because I know I'm driving here, but I don't need to be.
I love it. I would say, like, what are some of the key differences that you feel from when you first entered the community to now?
Differences.
An experience in understanding, or like your impression.
Oh, okay.
Any way you want to answer that.
I think understanding is probably the best one of those to pick, just because I had zero understanding other than people, right? I've always loved people and been interested in people, and that's what brought me into all this. Yeah. But I did not understand the culture. I did not pretend to.
Yeah.
So I think that's helped me, just like being an open book and talking to people, saying, "What the fuck is this?" Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of what I did from day one. So I think what I've come to understand, the thing I understood immediately was the community part of it.
Yeah.
And that it's unique in this world, right? Like, I mean, there's lots of art forms and lots of things that bring people together, but this is very, very unique. But what I've come to understand is the art side of it, and that, you know, I know we've been spending a lot of this time talking about the community aspect, but I think the art side of it is something that I've become really, really aware of, right? And because I think from someone who did not come from this, other than, you know, I love music, right? So I knew a little bit about hip hop and the music side, and like, you know,
which is
I was
valuable.
aware there was some dancing. However, I didn't really see it as an art form, right? Because you look at the exposure, right? You've got your occasional dance video, which are usually really high gloss and usually dope, but it's still like very commercial, not something you're never listening. And then you've got, I don't know, commercials. You've got maybe the occasional street performers. You live in a city like Los Angeles, you might see somebody.
Yeah.
But it's only now starting to get on stages, you know, thanks to people like John Boog's or Storyboard P a little bit, right? And people who are like demanding that this be on stages with ballet and with contemporary, and that it get that kind of recognition. Because I've seen, you know, my entree into this was Slim's classes. I probably mentioned this in freaking every episode, but I have to. And I didn't know what that was, right? I was just like, cool. I didn't know that every important street dancer within, like, well, practically on the globe was going to come through those classes, right? And when I saw the work being put in, and I saw the dedication, and I saw the lack of remuneration, right? Because yes, all artists struggle to make money. We all get this, but there's a real imbalance, I think, here, you know, for the people who are artists, right? For the people who are movement artists, and the ability to be recognized and to make a living at that is just like, this art form needs to be respected as an art form.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what my eyes have been open to, that's new. I mean, and then, you know, the pandemic and taking a break from it, and then coming back into those rooms and like meeting people again and getting hugs and giving hugs and just realizing like how important that is.
Shout out to Lam.
So those are
that hug.
Those are some thoughts.
For that hug, shout out to Lam.
Yeah. But like, there was a lot of that, you know,
it's
and
really cool.
There's a real genuine willingness to just like be present and be vulnerable that I think everybody just like needs to see this.
So this is not really.
I don't know, did that answer your question? Was that
it did.
relevant?
It did. And this is not really. I might figure out when I get to the end of my statement how to make this into a question. But I also want to highlight the fact that there have been times where I have seen you, like you've been in spaces like as a photographer or like as just like watching. But I vividly remember a couple of times where you've put the camera down and you've gotten in there and you've danced and you've like, it's like, and I feel like that's one monumental, especially within the spaces that you've been in and like the people that you've been around and like the level of like comfort that you have with it. What are those moments like for you when you jump in there and you dance?
So the first time I did it, and I just want to say I'm generally like someone who participates.
Yeah.
The reason it took me so long to participate in this respect is because I started with freaking Slim Boogie's classes, right? So it's like, I'm just like, it's not that I think I shouldn't do it, but it's kind of, I guess my closest thing is music that I could compare it to, right?
Yeah.
Like if I go to a jam session, you know, it may not really be that appreciated to hear somebody like squeak a violin or like play a trumpet badly, right?
Yeah.
So there was that. There was just like this level of like, everybody's putting so much time into this and so much work. And like, I'm not.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't want to get out there and like disrespected.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't until after the pandemic, and I remember it was a little parking lot session that Kumsa, she was one of the first ones to have sessions. This was like near the Ninth and Olive parking lot. There were like a few people there, and I was like, okay, it's time. I need to like participate, and I did, and it felt like it's about time and what took you so long, because
which was not what you expected.
This is what's so strange about it. Like for all that I'm saying about the intimidating level of expertise that I had been exposed to from the jump, it was also, everybody was always super supportive. Like I understood fundamentally that for the most part, if you get in there and you try, people are going to pump you up.
Yeah. They appreciate the effort.
And not just Hans, right? Because you are, you are super enthusiastic that way. But in general, right. So it was nice to just cross that boundary and do it. And so since then, it's just like, it just feels good to do, even though it still is, it's intimidating.
Of course.
Not because of, and now it's not because of the people, like I'm intimidated by the level. It's just, I think singing and dancing are the two most vulnerable art forms. You cannot hide behind anything.
Because you are the instrument. You are the thing.
You are the instrument.
You are the thing.
There's no guitar to hide behind.
Yeah.
There's no mic.
You are the thing. Yeah, I say that all the time.
There's nothing. So
if people don't appreciate it, it's hard to
really
separate
fun,
it. Yeah.
and it's really fun to try because I do have rhythm, because I play drums and I'm coordinated, and it's interesting to try to apply that to dancing, right? So there's something there,
so cool.
And it's really fun, and
I love
and then
that.
and just it just levels up my respect. How tired you get after 1 minute of doing this shit, right? And then you see the 7-round battle with ties, with ties, and with extra rounds, and like it's just like, damn, So,
or in those instances where you hear the music and you're like, well, that's a crazy song. What are you gonna do with that? Or like, it's just.
I really enjoyed it, and I really felt like I wish it hadn't taken me so long to do that. So yeah,
that's cool. No, I do remember like those moments where I'm like, yeah, John,
we'll see
I love that. No, and though what you're saying is all of like valid things, like your feelings or like the thoughts that you're having. But I do like the fact that like when you do it, like how you're embraced afterwards, or like how
I love seeing that because so many, especially with classes, and you see people who come to classes and you can tell they're struggling with something. It's myriad things, right? Like everybody's struggling, but some people really wear it.
Yeah.
Right? And you can see this is a place for them to come and to get support for doing this thing, right? Just do this thing and get some support and feel part of humanity.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
It 100%. And I think there's something super. I feel like that's what makes dance so important. The fact that like, well, one, that's what you said, that's where you are the thing, but then also like taking that leap of faith of being like, regardless of like my skill level or where I'm at, like still giving this an attempt and still sharing where I'm at and stuff like that. Like I feel like that's super major, and might even be like I think hearing that you're brought so much like love and appreciation when you do it is so cool, because I also kind of feel like that's lost nowadays. I feel like when I experience social like settings for dance, I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like now I experience people looking for the cool dance, people looking for the wow me, to do something cool, and the appreciation for just self-expression or just like giving it a try is not as like, it's not as present anymore.
I think I'm looking at it from a different angle, and I got to say, I'm sure you're right to an extent, but thanks to people like yourself that introduced me to this whole thing, like I got to tell you, that's definitely still out there. It's still happening, and even though it might be viewed through a different lens, it's not going anywhere. That's my 2 cents. Can we, I know you got to go, but can we, I got an electronic drum kit over there. would you be open into a little conversation?
You're gonna ditty me on. You're gonna.
No, you say no, and I understand. I'm not warmed up either, so it's not like trying to get hurt. But
yeah, let's do it.
Are you down?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Thank you so much, Hans.
Of course.
Always appreciate you, and really appreciate you making the time.
Thank you for having me, man. This is only the first one because I got to come back and do this.
No, we didn't even get into it.
Yeah. We gotta do this a lot more.
Right, man. Okay, so here's your sound palette. We got.
Wait, no, don't show me.
Don't show you.
No, all right, just play it. Yeah, just play it.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.